Um, about 5 years ago, AF had this crazy idea of starting state chapters. And it was at first kind of confusing. AF exists to help young professionals who want to develop a career in free markets. There are no free market jobs in Pittsburgh, or very few. How are we going to actually bring something valuable to Pittsburgh, to other cities across America, where the ideas of liberty need to be shared, and we have a huge audience that's basically untapped, but how do you get your first internship on the Hill is not going to be applicable to the Pittsburgh audience. So it definitely was a lot of trial and error, and we're still learning and we're still changing things, but it's been a wonderful experience. And I won't go through all my notes. I'll just tell you a couple stories that I think encapsulate how the state chapters are bringing a new dimension to AF that's very different from anything any other organization is doing, and it's very exciting and can be a huge boon to the conservative, the right wing, whatever you want to call it, movement in general, I think over the next few decades, really. I want to start with a story about an event we had last fall. It was right after the big debt ceiling debate, and being in DC, I think I'm safe to assume that people know what I'm talking about. I don't have to explain myself. And everyone was railing against Republicans that let this go on, and it was terrible strategy and it backfired, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we had months ago set up a panel with our local congressman, who's a Republican, and it just so happened that the day after they broke the stalemate was our event. So we had this huge interest because basically everyone wanted to come and either criticize our congressman or put in their 2 cents about what had just happened, ask him for the details, what actually went down, get the inside scoop. And what was really interesting about it is because of that dynamic, we had a lot of older folks at that event. I call them your typical Tea Party activists, your people in the 50s, maybe 60s, who are just, anything anti-Obama gets them going, and very passionate, but not always very articulate about their beliefs. So we had a lot of them in attendance, and I can't tell you how many people, even though they outnumbered the young professionals we had there, were so energized, not by anything that was said during the program, but that there were actually young people in Pittsburgh attending events like this, coming out to listen to their congressman speak on a weeknight, and actually asking questions and being engaged, and it gave them so much hope for the future. And that may sound like a really small thing, but I think it's just a glimmer of how we can really re-energize conservatives moving forward as we continue this state chapter model. And the second story I want to tell you is about some of our board members and how AF has helped them not necessarily land their first internship or job the way that AF supports young professionals here in DC, but how it's helps them become more effective advocates for liberty, as Roger was saying. We had one board member whose goal one day is to become a professor in a university and sort of enlighten his students with the right way of thinking, so to speak. And because of AF, he's been able to network with scholars and professors all across Western Pennsylvania that otherwise he would probably have never been exposed to just being a grad student. And so he's built great relationships with think tanks that are starting in a lot of, I can think of 2 specifically, St. Vincent College and Grove City College in Western PA. Think tanks that are developing for conservative-minded scholars in academia, something that's sorely needed but is so rare. And so he's been able to really get great career advice on what type of courses he should pursue, what programs are worth applying for and which are not. Just a great network of academics now that he's utilizing to move further in his career. And I have a brand new board member who's looking for a new job. He's in the communications sector. And it's a little thing, but I think it's these little baby steps that together make a huge impact. He's interviewing for a new position today, and was able to connect with someone at that firm, not the person who was interviewing him, but someone else that was there, and have a really nice, warm introduction, because he simply got engaged with AF and asked us, who do you know at this firm? And we said, oh, we know so-and-so, she's entry level, but you should definitely talk to her. And that's gonna make, I think, a lasting impression. So who knows, maybe he won't get the job, but that's a connection he would not have had it not been for AF Pittsburgh. And I have lots of other stories and things that I could say about how optimistic I am for the future and the state chapter movement and why it's important, but I'll stop there so that our other panelists have plenty of time to contribute as well.